Is really thinking today. Oh, you know what? I got a bunch open in Photoshop. That could be pissing my computer off. There we go. Oh, we are live. We've been alive for 11 seconds and I've been talking through it. Well, because my screen's not going away. So I'm like, oh. All right. And then I need to make sure to pull up the live on Facebook because otherwise I can't see the comments. There we go. Okay. Back to you. Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. All right. So I'm just going to start off with, how did you even land and become a photographer? Like, what brought you here? How'd you get here? What got you started, inspired, etc.?
So when I was a teenager, so my dad did photography a lot, not professionally, but just like hobby. So growing up, I would always see him with a camera, and then I just kind of became like, I guess, accustomed to it because I always saw him. And then I remember when I was, I don't know, maybe 10, I got a camera for Christmas, and it was the film. And I remember I always ruined the film because I would always pop the back open and expose it to the light. And my dad's like, "No, you gotta wait till." I'm like,
So every time somebody says film, I'm like, oh, people are gonna know my age.
Yeah. Yeah, I just outed myself too.
Because I started with film. I started with film too in high school because my grandfather was a photographer. I guess you could say he still is. But yeah, I started with film too. I don't miss it. I know some people who still love it, still want to play with it. I do not miss it.
No. So, I mean, that's pretty much, and like, when I was a teen, it was just like hanging out with friends and you take the pictures while you're, just hanging out. And then as I got older, I remember, do you remember when the Kodak Advantix came out? It was like the little drop-in film. It was almost like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were like a big thing, and I got one for Christmas. And then I was like, oh, let me get artsy with this. And I would start doing things. And then I had kids, and I did my kids when they were little. And then I actually stopped for a while because they got older, and they were like, get the camera out of my face, leave me alone. Because then it was like every week I was like, oh, we're going to dress you up like a mermaid or stuff like, whatever I would find and make this elaborate shoot. And then they just got bored with it. They got old. So then I stopped. And then probably, I guess, 2.5, I guess it was 2 years in January. I was like, I'm kind of bored. So that's when I picked up the camera, and I didn't want to do kids because I knew what it was like fighting with my kids. So I was like, I don't want to get mad at other people's kids for not listening. So let me not do kids. And then I really liked the concept of Boudoir, to make women feel beautiful and empowered. And, I kind of just spiraled off of that, and I did a few shoots and I loved it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to roll with it.
So let me ask you that then, because like I know how I got started back into it. Because I mean, I did it kind of like you. It's probably about 2.5, 3 years ago I got back into it. What was the thing that got you back into it? Like, what was the thing that landed you in Boudoir? Like, how did you start with that?
I would guess probably say because I wanted to Boudoir shoot myself. It was right around when TikTok was becoming popular, and I was seeing things on TikTok with different shoots. And I remember I saw an ad on Facebook, and I can't remember her. She's in Maryland, and she's a very popular, like, old pinup photographer.
Okay.
And I remember, I can't remember her name, but she does amazing work. And I was like, I want to do a pinup shoot. And then it was just, I inquired, and I think the price was like near $5,000 or something. And I was like, I don't have $5,000. So I was like, hey, I have a camera. So I remember I was like, and it was a terrible fail. And I was like, no, this isn't working.
So I can relate to that because the first time a camera was put back into my hand, I'm like, oh, I forgot how to do this. So I hit the button, and there were such bad blurry photos because I made no adjustments whatsoever because I
Yep.
didn't remember what they were anymore.
Yep.
We've gotten a couple of comments. Sita Caton Perez says, "Get it, girl."
Okay.
And Crystal Manning hated the Advantex film. Ron Holiday said, "Good evening, everyone." Hi, Ron.
Hi,
And
Ron.
then Larry would like to interject, film photography makes you a better photographer because of the discipline. I don't give a fuck. Just
No,
don't. It's
not
way
at
more
all.
work than it's worth, and we don't have to do it anymore.
No, not at all. You probably couldn't pay me enough money to do film again.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I had to develop it at different points in my lifetime where, if you were physically developing the role, then you
Oh,
had to
wow.
process the photos in a dark room. And though it was an amazing experience, again, don't remember any of it any longer, other than the fact that there was a whole set of steps. But it's like, if you screwed something up, you started all over again.
Yeah. Or like I said, like me, and I would just pop open the bag and expose it all. And,
Or if you were like me, you had a camera that stopped working. So when you reeled it back in, you lost the whole roll, even though you thought you were done with it.
Yep. Yep. Been there, done that.
Yep.
So, nope.
Okay. So you picked up the camera to do your own. Didn't like how that turned out. What happened from there?
So then I just started, researching. I watched a ton of YouTube videos. My downstairs, I made a little cubby downstairs, and I remember I put like a blow up mattress, and I got the tripod down there, and I blossomed, I guess you would say. Is the more I researched and the more I started to learn, the more I got hooked and intrigued.
Okay.
And I think that's probably where I found, because when I first started the very first boudoir shoot I did, a friend of mine, I sent her a message and I said, "Hey, do you want to do me a favor? Like, I'm trying to get into boudoir and I'm really trying to just practice. And she said, "Yeah, sure." So I remember I scrambled down my house and I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. Like, it's literally was just like a little corner. So I rented a hotel room, and she came out to the hotel room, and they were like really like light and airy. And I loved them. They were good pictures. And I was like, wow. Now, back then I was like, oh, wow, these don't look pretty bad. These are pretty good. When I look at them now and I'm like,
Oh, I know.
oh,
I was just talking about that today.
Yes. Like, not on her part. She was great. And,
Yeah.
bless her heart, but I look at like just the quality and the angles, and, the ones I saved on my computer is like, my portfolio. And I look and I'm like, I would never post them now.
I've actually been tempted to do a video of like my then and now style of editing, because I literally just had this conversation today. Whereas, like, if I were to go back to what I started doing, where I was excited about it and I really wanted to do it, and I was like, oh, this is great. And I look at it going, Dawn, that's tragic. Like, it's either a horrible skin edit, the colors are off. And then I remind myself that it's okay, because that was the part of my learning process. But, you look at it now and you're like, somebody put that on a cover of a magazine. I don't understand why, because it really wasn't a great photo.
Yeah. It's like, I look back and I'm like, and I remember I even saw the very first like self portrait that I did, with the old, like, and I even had my daughter come out, like, I'll do something. And I look and I'm like, oh, these look really, and I'm like, wow, that's just trash. And I'm like, why would I think that I looked good in those pictures? Like, they're just terrible.
Well, because I feel like in the beginning, when we start with this stuff, we're so excited that I think everything everything we do, like, we're like, oh, I'm an artist, I'm creative, and what?
Absolutely.
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 Because I need new headshots too, and I'm like, I am capable of doing my own headshots, but do I really want to? Maybe. I don't know. Because I feel like it's going to be like 3 hours with my camera and my cell phone hitting the remote trying to take photos of myself.
Yes. Oh my God. I remember it was at Halloween time and I was trying to do myself and I thought for some reason that I should wear these huge heels and you hit the little timer on the thing and then I had to like run around into the front and like damn near broke my face.
I can already see it. I
Yeah.
felt it as
I'm like
soon as
trying to run into position and like I twisted and I went and I was like, I wish it would have caught me like mid-fall, like when the camera went off, because that would have been my profile picture, because that would have just been classic. I was like, that explains me in every ounce of way.
So how I met you was through an event. How did you start doing the events? When did you get into that?
So that just randomly happened, and I guess the whole Facebook, our phones are listening, because I was just on my phone one day and I was scrolling and out of nowhere it just popped up and it was this it was actually Tony Blazek's event.
Okay.
It was like the pinup cars down in Havre de Grace.
Gotcha.
And I remember seeing it and I clicked on it and it was like limited spots available, and I'm like, the deadline was, I think, probably like a week before I had seen it. And I was like, oh man. So I remember I sent him a message and I was like, hey, like, I'm really interested. I know I'm late, but if you have anybody cancel. And he's like, oh no, like, it's okay. You can come. So I went and I loved it. And I was like, wow, like these people are willingly letting me take their pictures. Like, this is amazing, because trying to find somebody that's enthusiastic and, lets me put a camera in their face. So they're like, no.
Right.
So yeah, and then I just was like, wow, these are a thing. So I just kept looking on Facebook and I kept finding, I would search photography events and they would pop up, and then I just would send messages and hope that they let me come. And so, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty much just searching and researching pretty much.
Okay. So now, do you do photography full time, or are you like the rest of us and you have a day job?
So I don't have a day job, but I also don't do photography full time.
Okay.
And that's not because I don't want to. It's more so like I'm kind of in my own way with that. Like we were talking before we went live of like, I'm crazy. So like I was saying, like my studio, and because I was talking this with my friend and she's like, you build these sets, and she's like, but then you tear them down. And I'm like, because I get bored. She's like, yeah, but you're kind of in your own way because I don't leave it up enough. So it's kind of like asking people, hey, let me come take your pictures, but I don't know what you're going to get because I don't know what kind of crazy I'm going to be in that month. And
I don't think there's anything wrong with that though, but you can also create your space to where it's versatile. It doesn't have to be just one look if you can move things, because then it doesn't have to be the same. That's like what we're talking about. I would much rather shoot on a location than in a studio, because then I can pick whatever the heck kind of background I want and I don't have to worry about moving 800 things to be able to get the look I want.
Right.
So I think you can make that work in your favor.
Yeah, I definitely could. And like I said, it's more just me being in my own way.
Sure.
I mean, I do some shoots, when somebody reaches out. I have one next week coming. And the more, I think, and it's more too of like the anxiety of it. Like I said, before, like with my lighting, it's like I move my lighting around so much because it's like, oh, but then I edit and I'm like, why did I do that? Because it was perfectly fine the first time. And
now let me ask you, are you moving the lighting when you're in group events, or is it every time you shoot?
It's every time.
Okay.
It's like, it's so much self-doubt of like, it's like every artist thing. It's like, oh, I think my work's horrible, but everybody looks and it's like, oh no, you it's really good. Like my friend tells me all the time, she's like, you shoot so many pictures. She's like, and I see you post maybe 2 or 3 from the set. And I'm like, no, you're right. I'm like, because that's me sitting behind my computer screen. I'm like, no, they're going to think they're terrible. And they're going to be like, you're a terrible photographer. And she's like, no, they're really good. You're just, you're in your own way with that. And I'm like,
I don't actually think there's an issue with only sharing 2 photos because I find most people stop paying attention at photo 4 or 5.
I would agree with that. I would agree with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many people post 3 photos from the same set one day, very similar poses of the same set with the same look the next day. And I'm like, didn't I just see those already? So I think sometimes you oversaturate if you're not careful, and then people just lose interest.
Right. And that that makes 100%. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Hang on. Who's this? We've got a comment coming through, but it hasn't fully come through yet. So I don't know who actually said it. It says, we're our own worst critic, way too hard on our art, but I have no clue who made the comment. It just says Facebook user. Oh, it was Scott. Okay. Hi, Scott. Love you.
Hi,
McLaughlin.
Scott.
Not St. John, but McLaughlin.
Oh, hi. Well, I still like him just the same.
Same. I just wanted to make sure you knew which one. It gets confusing after a while.
It sure does. It sure does. But no,
But
I
yeah,
would agree with that 100%. 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think on the flip side of that, I think when we're hard on ourselves on what we do, it can be motivating at the same time to learn something. Because that's always one of my goals is I'm like, all right, what's the next thing I can learn? What's the next thing that I can teach myself? And I might even just randomly click on something stupid in Photoshop that I've never touched before and then just see what it does. You know, something might come of it, something might not.
Yeah.
All right. So our actual topic for today, now that we've gotten some backstory from you. So what happened to you recently? Because when I saw it, I was like, something happened. I was like, I'm not going to ask her about it. I'm like, no, I'm going to ask her about it. I was like, because I knew it had to be somebody close to you for you to be upset over it. Because I figured you'd probably slough it off if it wasn't. Hang on a second.
Yes.
Oh, Scott, the reason you can't see your profile picture is because it's through the DMV photography group. There's some sort of thing, some sort of setting that you have to change for me to be able to see who you are from the group. So that's why you can't see it when I post the comment. All right, back to you.
So what happened?
What had happened was.
So it actually came about in a really like spur of the moment, like off the wall thing. So it was my husband.
Right.
He was the one that had made the comment, and it got me a little feisty. Because you're right. If it hadn't been somebody close to me, anybody that knows me too well, that I would have exactly what you said. I would have brushed it off.
You would have let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would have turned around and I would have posted something even more extravagant just to prove, like.
Right.
So what had happened is we were talking about a completely different subject. We weren't fighting, but it was more of like an intense conversation. And I kind of felt like, now we have talked about it since, and he says that no, I misread it, but I took it as like, because we were in the middle of a topic and it just kind of like came out of like, I can't remember exactly how it was, but in a nutshell, it was like, I'm embarrassed of what you post on your Facebook.
Right.
And I was like, what? Oh, now I embarrass you. And then it turned into a fight because, you know, I took it that way. And he was like, his reasoning is we do own a business in this town we live in.
Okay.
It's a very small town and we're out in the country, Amish country. And I guess he just kind of looks at it as like, you know, we're well known in this town. We have a business and you're basically on Facebook and posting, you know, I don't know.
Spicy content.
Yes, we'll say that. And I said, okay, but you know, and then at the time, like I said, emotions were high. And I remember when you sent me the message, I was like, let me think about this because I'm a little like, let me just get my bearings. Like, I don't want to do anything.
Well, at that point in time, you hadn't even decided how you were going to deal with it with him because if I remember correctly, you're like, I want to be petty, but I feel like I need to think about it.
Yes. And side note, that is pure growth for me because me 2-3 years ago wouldn't have said that. I would have been like, let's do it now because I'm going to put my petty frown on because don't play with me.
Right.
So, but me being a better person, I was like, let me just take a step back. Let me
Sure.
reevaluate. Let me think. I would like to say that I handled it gracefully, but I did not.
Okay.
There was a few days there I just kind of spiraled and, I made a few of my crazy posts, and even just like at home, it was me just like the anger of coming out. And it was like,
Let me ask you that though, because I'm one of those people that I like perspective and that whole like that deep personal growth where like when we really figure it out, we go, oh, what were you actually angry about?
looking back, I think I was angry at the way he approached me about it.
Okay.
Because like I said, we were talking about something completely different. And I kind of felt like you were deflecting from the situation that I was talking to you about.
Okay.
So in order for you to kind of get yourself out of that hot seat, you kind of turned it around and just dumped it on me.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we had spoke about it later, I said, it's not so much I said, it's the way I said, I've been doing this now, we're going on almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if you had come to me and said, listen, because I'm not going to say he's not, because he absolutely is supportive.
Sure.
He's, he's always been there. If I need something, he's got it. If I have a shoot, he always makes sure, like, so I don't want it to come across like he's not supportive, because he is.
Nobody attack Michelle's husband. Okay.
No, don't. Because he is absolutely supportive, so that's why I was taken back, and I was like,
Yeah.
you could have approached me in a different way. I said, like one day if I'd posted it, you could have came home and said, listen, it's really great work, I appreciate it, but do you maybe think we could post it privately, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe just on a page that only, non, because I do
So
have.
what I'm hearing is he made this statement, but there was no problem solving to solve how he felt about it and not affect you at the same time.
Right, right.
Okay.
And that's what kind of like spiraled like the anger of like,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because you had a roller coaster couple of days. Like you started out like, here's what I'm doing, and then you're like, okay, maybe. Nope, I'm doing it, and then you're like, I'm good.
yes, absolutely. It was a hell of a rough few days. And like I said, we talked about it, because that's what I said. I was like, I'm confused, because he is so supportive. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
he's backed me up 100%. He encourages me all the time. He tells me to broaden my horizons. He's into the cars, and he's like, oh, do cars, do. So it's not that he's not supportive. So I'm like, why now? And that's why I was like, were you just trying to deflect the hot seat from the other topic we were talking about, and this was your way
Right.
out? And he was just like, no. He was like, I don't know where it came from. And I was like, well, it sounds like something we need to talk about, because obviously you had it
Mm-hmm.
in there for something,
Sure.
for it to come out. So yeah, and he did it. Everybody mark this on the calendar, because a man admitted that he was wrong.
I hope you did put it in a calendar so that there's a reminder next year and the year after. Be like, honey, you remember that day, that one
Yeah.
time we had that conversation?
Yeah. And you actually said that you were wrong. So yeah, he said, he's like, I did use the wrong choice of words, because when I took it as, he's like, oh, it's embarrassing, that's what threw me over the hand. Oh, I embarrass you, here I
Yeah.
am, your wife.
Well, was it that your feelings were hurt over it or the fact that it was new information?
Um, Honestly, I think it was probably a little of both.
Okay.
It was more of like a shock of a revelation of like, well, where did this come from? Because
Mhm.
you know what I do. I don't hide anything that I do. So
Sure.
why all of a sudden is it a problem?
Right.
And he said it's not really a problem. It's just, everybody doesn't feel it. And me and my husband are two completely different people with our opinions and views on all kinds of topics anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So like his view on the whole boudoir thing and my view on the whole boudoir thing, it varies. And, I'm all
Okay.
like, it's art. It's not, meant to be spicy content
Mm-hmm.
to be a perv, or it's just,
What's his stance on it?
he's okay with it. He's more so like personally for me. So maybe like if I do boudoir pictures, like I posted mine, he's more like, I don't want you posting those. And I'm like, well,
Okay.
and my view is kind of like, well, I'm very pro, like, be confident, love who you
Mm-hmm.
are. I'm a bigger girl myself, so it's like I try to get a body positive image out there,
Sure.
and I say to him all the time, I'm like, you expect me to go out and ask these women to pose for me and let me take their pictures and encourage them to be confident in their bodies and, embrace who they are, to feel beautiful and empowered and everything else. I was like, but how does that look if I'm saying it's okay for everybody else to do it and I'm not willing to do that myself?
Right. Well, I'm not so sure it's the willing part, because I can see it from both sides of the fence. Because from his perspective, I could see where he would feel like, because you're putting yourself out there, you could get attention from men that he doesn't want you to get. So that
Right.
that part I can understand to an extent.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, I get it. I do the same thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with anybody as far as I'm concerned. As long as you're a decent human, I'm cool with almost anybody. The same
Right.
thing goes for photography. I think society has put such a standard or standardization on what a model should look like that, if you are overweight or, curvier, like it puts you in this category that's supposed to be special. Really all it is, it's like either you like it or you don't. You don't like it, don't look.
Absolutely.
That's the reality of it. So yeah, I could see that one from both sides of the fence.
Absolutely. And
So
that's
what was the final outcome of all of this for you guys? Because this was what, 2 weeks ago?
about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So the final outcome was, there was a few days where, we didn't speak, and
Right.
I was basically keeping my distance. Like I said, that's growth on me, because me 3 years ago would have probably just, walked in and started swinging.
Well, I'm glad no hands were thrown and you didn't land in jail. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Props to growth for me.
So proud.
So yeah, we took a few days, and then, I kind of approached and we had a conversation. He was calm and I was calm, and it was just kind of, it came out where I'd said, why didn't you tell me before? And he was
Right.
like, well, from his stance is like, he was like, I really didn't know how to approach it. And I will give him credit. He was like, you tend to get a little feisty, which I do.
No, stop it. Stop it.
So he was just like, he apologized and I apologized. And so really the end resolution was, I told him, I said, I'm not going to stop what I'm
Right.
doing. I was like, I respect your opinions. I respect your views. I was like, but at the same time, you have to respect mine. I was like,
Mhm.
this is art for me. This is what I choose to do. I said, and I'm not going to dull myself down for anybody.
Mhm.
You've been my husband for 20 years or, 5 days. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So, and he's okay with that. It's like I said, he's never not been supportive, but I kind of said, if it bothers you on a professional level, I said, I won't post any of the spicier stuff publicly. So I made the
Okay.
other Facebook page. I didn't add anybody that, isn't a close friend or family member or somebody that's not attached to us on an emotional level,
Personal.
I guess
Right.
a personal level. And that's pretty much where we're at. I I deleted him and I blocked him from my own personal Facebook because I was like, well, you
Okay.
don't like seeing what I post? Then I'll block you.
Jeez.
But that was me being petty.
Uh-huh.
I probably will unblock him. I should probably do that sometime soon at this point. He probably wants to
Can you
watch this, so maybe I'll
I,
unblock
I was gonna say, can you just say love you, honey, or something so that
him. Maybe later. Not right now.
okay. Love it. Okay, so then you created another page and that's going to be for the spicier stuff and then you'll still now did he say anything about it because somebody had said something to him or
Well, that was my guess, and that was everybody else's guess too, because when I posted that, my inbox blew up. Like all I
oh, I'm
heard was
sure.
ding ding, ding ding ding, ding ding, ding ding. What happened? Who we fighting? Who said something? What happened? Da-da-da. And I'm like, listen, but he said no, and
Okay.
I don't know. I believe him on that. If you had asked me that when it happened, I would have said absolutely not. He's lying,
Right.
you know. But I
Right.
believe him. I think it's more he's just worried on it
How
at a
other people are going to perceive it.
right. And I do understand because he's looking at it as a professional point of view. He's like, listen, we own a business. It's a well-known business in town. He's like, and this is our livelihood.
Right.
And then I fired back and I'm like, well, last time I checked, you couldn't breathe from running around. You were so busy. So we're not, but he's like, it doesn't matter. He said, you always want to maintain a professional appearance. And I was like, I can get that. I can understand that.
Well, but I mean, but the same thing goes for you though too because just because that's what your content is does not mean you're not being professional. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so there's not it's not necessarily that there's anything wrong with what you're doing as long as you're doing it in a professional manner. I think his concern is that if you guys have enough conservative people in your area, they won't want to, book work because they're like, oh, they're dealing
Yeah.
in spicy stuff,
Yes.
so yeah, that part, I get it. I get it. But I think we're also getting to, I feel like we're getting to a little bit of a point in society where it's a little bit more acceptable, even though some people still want to make that stuff a little bit more taboo.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit more of a, not welcoming necessarily, but a tolerance.
I would agree. Yeah. If this were 10 years ago, absolutely not. I would probably almost guarantee we would be out of business. Like I said, we live in a very
Right.
small country town of Amish and the churchgoer. And and that's the thing too. It's like,
Well, I mean, the Amish aren't going to know.
well, no, absolutely not. But it's like, and that's what I had said to him. I was like, I understand your view. I was like, but it's 2023. I was like, and society's always going to have an opinion. I said, but
Yep.
I don't see the issue with it. I said, even as like, so I take a picture of a woman in lingerie, in a bra and underwear or an outfit. I was like,
No different in a swimsuit.
yeah, it's no different than a swimsuit. I was like, and if somebody looks at that in a sexual manner, it's like, I understand that some people choose to stay private, but it's like, even, I was like, look at every church on Sunday morning. And when you have, these churchgoers and Bible, like super religious people, I was like, most of them are pulling up with a minivan full of kids. And it's like, well, where did those kids come from?
Right.
Everybody has sex. Everybody has, and it's like, if you don't choose to put that out, and it's like, and I'm not even putting sex out there. Like, I don't put my content out there to be sexual. Like,
Right.
it's not like I'm posting these pictures because it's like, oh, I want you to think of this. It's like, it's art. It's no different than somebody posing in a dress or hell, a jumpsuit. It's all the same. It's just art. And it's like, and if one person's choice to wear something doesn't fit your standards, then why does it make it wrong just because you don't agree with it?
Well, yeah. And I mean, if you, the reality of it is that we're surrounded by sexually suggestive information all the time, every day. We're
Ever.
inundated by it. And what's the difference in shooting someone in lingerie, okay, and the Victoria's Secret runway show that is televised? There
Absolutely.
isn't one. You know,
Absolutely not.
what's the difference in that lingerie versus Sports Illustrated? The difference is the body type. That's it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
hang on. Let's see what Scott we got a diatribe here. I've had similar issues when I don't post my most revealing work on Facebook because I've actually had an employee at work report some of my images to our HR manager.
Oh,
And
wow.
due to my position at work, the HR manager has advised me that the sexual content could be a problem for employees who work under me. So I've had to remove or block many employees for me to avoid any issues. Yeah, I've thought about that even, kind of throughout the years. Now, I'm really fortunate that the full-time job that I have currently, the gentleman who owns that business is very supportive. He's basically a business partner at this point. That's the type of relationship that we have, and we're both very progressive, I guess would be a good way of putting it. So we don't really care. We know the rest of the world can have an issue, but we don't really care. But
Right.
this isn't the first time that I've heard that, and I'm like, at what point in time does what we do in our personal lives in such a manner like this should have no effect on our job in any way, shape, or form, regardless of what it is, if it does not affect our job, if it does not affect how we function at work?
Absolutely. I agree 100%. 100%. What I do with my personal life doesn't affect my what I do on a professional level.
Yeah.
Before I did photography, I worked in an OR in a hospital.
Okay.
Um, I was a surgical tech, so it's like, but I went to work every day and I did my job, and you know, it. I went home. Even if I went home at that night and took pictures of women in lingerie, does that change the like I didn't? It didn't affect my job at all. So I agree with you 100%. It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, in some situations, people who have OnlyFans and their jobs tell them that, that's an issue. Why does it matter? It's an extra income.
Right.
Again, shouldn't affect their job because their job has absolutely nothing to do with what they do in their personal time.
Absolutely.
Scott, P.S. I love Shelly Lynn work. I tell her that a lot. Drinks on me at the Julie High photo party. Oh, you're going to be there for that too?
Aw.
No, I always say July High.
July. Yes.
I always say Julie for some reason. July just throws me off for some reason every time. No, I'm going to
Oh,
be there for that as well too.
thank you, Scott. I love your work too.
Scott, Ernesto's coming too, correct? I'll let you type that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Our society is interesting because, the progressive people, sometimes we're really, really loud about things because we're just like, hey, get over yourselves. And then the not so, progressive people, a lot of times are the ones that seem to make laws, apparently.
Yep.
Scott says, yes, dinner on us. I mean, sweet. Thank you.
Yes.
Buy me
Absolutely.
dinner and call me pretty.
Absolutely.
But yeah, well, I'm glad that worked out. I was, let's see, Rhea. What did Rhea say? It's gorgeous, confident women, beautiful art that's creative. Your personal life should not affect your personal life and vice versa. People just need to mind their business. You guys rock. Keep up the good work. Love you mucho. Love you too, Rhea.
Love you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, and I think that's kind of it because I know, when I post some of the boudoir, there are some things that I haven't posted on social media too, because like they just tip over the border like just enough that
Right.
I try whatever I post a lot of times to be, kind of for everybody if I can. But
Right.
like, I know I have a set of photos of Tara. I could see her face and I could think of her name. I have a set of photos from, a shoot that we did. Well, I shot her in the bathtub. Well, right before the bathtub, she had gotten paddled. So her butt's red. And I'm like,
Yeah.
they're great photos. She did a great job posing. But I'm like, I don't know if that's going to get flagged or not.
Right.
Because that's the other thing is what's going to get flagged on social media. Because men could literally have no clothes on. And as long as their penis isn't showing, they won't get flagged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a woman could have lingerie on and she'll get flagged, even if the nipples are, blurry.
Yeah. Or a man can be on social media and, the whole gray sweatpants trend are going around,
Yep.
They can stand on Facebook
Flying in the breeze and they're making sure you see it. And that's okay.
Yep. Or the super tight boxers that show you can see every
curve.
vein. And but that's okay. And it's like, what's the difference? There's none. Absolutely none.
I mean, it just, unfortunately, the difference is society and how men are viewed versus how women are viewed, because we have extra fat up here underneath our nipple. That's an issue, but men can do what they want. Sorry, men that are watching, because, if you're in here watching, that we love you, but it's really frustrating. And I had a conversation. Hang on. Somebody commented, man, I got restricted for men on thongs. Who posted that? Give me a second because it hasn't pulled through. Rhea. Restricted for men and thongs? Because you posted it? I'm so confused. Elaborate, Rhea. Oh, no, I had a conversation. One of the photos that I had posted, I think it was of Anastasia underwater. She didn't have a bra on. And so I had to do the whole blur thing, so that you can't see like the little hint because she had something sheer on. And somebody had, commented, a female actually commented on it, saying that it's sad that has to be blurred. And I'm like, sometimes I think people are just, and I hate to say, because I don't want to say men, I want to say people, because I think sometimes people have an issue with the fact that women's bodies do so much. We can feed people. We feed tiny humans with them, but so many people, including women, so many people are uncomfortable with that display, like even in a public setting. And like, that child's got to eat. The mom is doing right by whatever she's doing by feeding the child because she can.
Absolutely.
Why are we giving women such a hard time?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I'm with you. I will never understand it. Like it just, or that there's a special room you have to go to. So I have to get up and hide in a special room because.
Well, and so I'm okay with the room concept if you need that humility. Like if you need that space because you don't want to share with the world. I get that.
Absolutely.
But I don't care if you do it at the restaurant table. It's not harming anything.
No.
I mean, if you had your dog on the table, that's probably your problem. But it's just like
that's a whole other issue. I feel like that's
not like you just slapped it on the table to feed somebody, Oh, hang on. Let's see. James said some of that is AI generated moderation. All right. I'll give you that. They've got an algorithm that runs through that's looking for something in particular. I mean, I'll give you that. But again, if women are getting flagged more than men, what are they flagging for men versus what they're flagging for women?
Absolutely.
And, unfortunately, I go into who do I need to talk to? It's just like, I don't know if I can make that kind of change, but I feel like I can yell at somebody for half a second and feel a little bit better.
I remember
Rhea said, oh, hang on. Rhea said, I shared a post, men in thongs and Facebook restricted my, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. But I have literally between Instagram and Facebook seen a man like his side profile, hind end, like nothing on. And it's got like 12,000 likes on it. So I'm like, where's the cohesion? But go ahead. What'd you get flagged for?
I remember I got flagged one time. I was doing like I ordered a bunch of lingerie from Shein, and I was just doing like my Shein haul, and it
Hmm.
literally just showed the lingerie. Nobody was wearing. I was
Hmm.
just pulling it out of bag, saying, "Hey, look what I got," and I got it flagged for violating community standards. And I'm like, it's
Did you
closed.
appeal it?
I did, and I lost. It got denied, and I'm
Huh.
like, it's closed. It's literally closed. But
Well, and then
they
I wonder sometimes with stuff like that if there's an actual person that you're dealing with, kind of like what James is saying about it, it pulling. Because I know with a lot of the algorithm stuff, that bot is searching for words. So depending on what those words are, sometimes that's what you get flagged for, and not necessarily the actual images sometimes.
Oh, okay.
So I wonder if there was a statement that was in there is what flagged it initially. I can say out of all the time that I've been doing this so far, I think I got flagged once early on in Instagram, and I've been surprised that I haven't been flagged since then. I have had occasionally if I really like a photo, I'll run like a 3-day ad on it just to kind of boost the post, just to get some more views on it. And I've
Right.
had 2 that got turned down because they were a little too risque. But I've had a couple that have pushed through that still were teeter-tottering on being risque, but they got pushed through anyway. So I don't really know what the standards are. Like, I think we're supposed to know what they are, but we don't really know what they are. But that's like what happened to me. That's what happened to me with Stripe. I don't know if you heard that story or not, but I have my website through Squarespace, started to build my shop in Squarespace, and I set up Stripe for my payment processing. And I got an email an hour after I set it up that they were denying me for processing because I either had pornographic images or adult content. Well, adult content is such a broad term. Like, I mean, it encapsulates whatever they deem it to be adult.
Right.
And I pulled my gallery down and I said, look, I'm guessing my portfolio was the issue. I went on ahead and pulled it. I'm happy to go back and relook at it. They went, nope, here's another option. Reach out to them, see if they'll do it for you.
Oh,
Never thought that was going to be an issue. And the whole reason I chose Squarespace was because they had templates and I could have a shop.
right.
So I'm probably going to have to redirect on that one.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Let's see. Rhea said, I seen photos with nipples of theirs, but when it comes to certain postings, I get restricted. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. Trying to figure out, I mean, sure, we somewhat know what's going to get you flagged, but it's like at the same time, some of the stuff that goes through, even on Instagram, I can't tell you how many posts that I come across where it's like a funny meme for like the first photo. And then if you slide, the next thing is a video of a vibrator. That
Oh,
doesn't seem to be getting flagged. Now, it's not someone using it. It's just the demonstration of, hey, buy this product.
right.
That's
Right.
adult content still.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's just, there's just no balance in any of it.
No, none whatsoever.
All right. So this is the segment where I ask you if you have advice or any funny anecdotal stories. Like, have you had any crazy photo shoots, any scary photo shoots where something tragic or uncomfortable happened?
Um, Nothing really I mean, if we want to count my event at Scott's in December, when I fell mid shoot and busted my
Which
ass in
one?
front, the one in December at Scott Church. You were there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
I
fell?
was up.
How did I miss
Yeah.
that?
So upstairs, like that little like slant ledge that when you go upstairs and that little bed sets there by the window,
Yeah, yeah.
that little like slant that goes there. So I was in the middle of shooting and it was a crazy day. And I remember I was so busy. So I was in like full like rush mode and I went to back up to take a picture and I just slid and I
Oh,
went like completely down. I broke my camera lens, which that's the only thing I was hurt. But I remember everybody was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, Yeah, that's just what I do. Like, I'm clumsy. And I remember everybody came running over. They're like, "Let me help you up," and I'm like, "Okay." I'm okay. Like, continue with what you're doing. Like, I'm
Sure.
I'm moving on. And I remember Pinky walking by, and she's like, "I'm an EMT. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm great. I'm just completely embarrassed and mortified, but thank you."
Oh my goodness. No, I didn't know that happened to you. I
Yeah,
completely missed that one. Although,
yeah,
event days are chaos. You
absolutely.
have what feels like 800 people, which is usually like 10 to 12 models and 10 to 12 photographers.
Yeah.
Everybody's running everywhere. Some people have like time slots set up, some people don't. Then you got to decide where you're shooting. Do you like their outfit? How much time do you have? Do they have a time within the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes? And you're like, is today over yet?
Yes. Yes. It is absolutely chaos. Absolute chaos. But
Actually, we'll segue into this because Scott asked, "Let's get juicy. What equipment are you ladies currently using to create shots, and what's your prize lens?" So one of the things that I always hear kind of like a debate back and forth, and maybe I need to do a poll in the group: Zoom versus Prime. I don't care about Prime. I know there are some photographers who are like, Prime is it. You have to have Prime, whatever the benefits are. I don't know about you, but at these group events, if I didn't have a zoom lens, do you know how many times I would be swapping out a lens to get the shot that I actually want?
I I agree. So I like my 50. Um
Mm-hmm.
but 90% of the time my 2470 is on my camera
Same.
because I like you said, I agree. And they're so I like to do so many different angles. And I remember Monday when I was shooting with Kazi and Anastasia, I was like, bear with me. I'm old. Like, I'm getting like down on the ground and I'm like on the floor and I'm like up down
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, just bear with me because I'm old and I move slow. And they were like, no, like, we're just really glad to have somebody that's willing to move and do that. And I
Yep.
was like, yeah. And I feel like with a prime lens, you can't do that. I feel like you're kind of restricted
Yeah, we have to
with the
stay a certain
prime.
amount of distance away. My
Yeah.
favorite is always when you've got the and I hate to do this. I know, Scott, I know you don't do this, but the older gentleman that sits in the chair and shoots. Have you
Yeah.
ever I see guys do it all the time. I'm like, are your knees bad? I'm guessing your knees are bad because there's
Yeah.
no reason for you to be sitting in that chair right now.
No. No. No.
um, so for Scott's question, I shoot Nikon Z6 II. I upgraded from a D750. So I've been a Nikon user. I've used Sony. I haven't used Canon at all. Sony, I do like. Like that would be another option for me. I recently upgraded my lens to an 18 to 104, I think is what it is. And I think that's probably going to be like my permanent lens now because I like the range. Like if I could get more range, I still would probably go up to whatever the next thing is, but like it's enough. Like it's enough to go wide when you want to, but if like you really want to zoom in and like get down and dirty and somewhat macro on it, you can.
Right. Yeah, I'm a Nikon shooter as well.
Okay.
I use I use a Nikon Z7 and like I said, most
Okay.
of the time my 2470.
Now the 7 is crop sensor, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
No,
That was why I went with the 6 was because it was full frame.
okay. Okay.
I think
Yeah,
that's yeah, oh no, you know what? I could be wrong on that because I didn't go with the 7 because there wasn't enough of a difference between the 6 and the 7 for me to warrant the price difference. That's what it was.
I I'm trying to I think it is full frame
Okay.
cuz I know it is because I upgraded from um what did I have? Was it the D 610? Am I saying
Okay.
that? 710?
I don't remember. I know
I
the 750 and the 800 and that sort of thing, but I don't know all of them.
Yes. No.
Actually, Angel, are you listening? Because you would know all of them. Scott says 18 to 104. Jesus, that's a lot of range. I need a lot of dynamic range, okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I do the same thing. I'm on the floor, I'm on a ladder, they're on the floor, I'm doing one of these bits. I mean, it's always random.
Yep. Always.
I'm actually surprised I haven't harmed myself. You know what I mean? Because it's just I'm always climbing on something typically because I'm short.
Yep. That's when I fell at Scott's that day. I was like it was not a big. I'm like, move along. Like this happens all the time. And I tell everybody I'm shooting with, like I trip over my light stands. I'm like, if I fall, just move along because I'm bound to do it.
There's no blood. I'm good.
Yeah. Yesterday I was doing a shoot and I was like down on like a gravel pavement and I was literally like my face was on the rocks and I'm like scraping like gravel off my face when I get up. And then I like my flip flop caught like on the rock, so I like went flying forward. And my first is like I hold the camera up. I'm like I don't care about my face. I don't care about as long as my camera's okay.
And some like, people who have a beer in their hand and they go up like this, so they don't spill it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm like just bear with me. It's okay.
Well, and actually, speaking of Scott Church, there was one of the times I was up there shooting. They have those old wood floors, and I slid across for the next shot that I wanted, and I said, "Ow!" and I didn't think much of it. Like I wiped my pant leg off. When I got home, I had a sliver sticking out of my leg, and I didn't see it because it had gone in through my pant leg, and then had just like gone into my skin. I didn't even know it was there until I got home.
Oh my goodness. Ouch.
Let's see. Scott, what'd you say? Dawn, you're a natural light girl. So are you raising your ISO to get enough light since it's not a fast lens? I usually have 2 Canon cameras on me, 1 zoom and 1 prime. So now, like I remember talking to Craig Hunter Ross last week because he does the event shooting. He has multiple camera bodies that he'll wear with like 2 or 3 different lenses so that he doesn't have to swap the lens. He just grabs the next camera for the next shot that he wants. I will adjust. I'm not a technical photographer. So I will adjust all the settings to get everything balanced. Sometimes I don't care about the ISO. So I might, adjust the shutter speed. Sometimes I care more about the shutter speed, depending on if it's action. So then I will adjust the ISO. If I don't care about the whole like bokeh depth of blur, I adjust that too. So it's more about the situation and the scenario than it is about being too technically specific on which thing I'm adjusting. So yeah, there's your answer, Scott. Because where you're dealing with lighting, I will avoid lighting at all costs if I can. I hate it. And I appreciate what natural light gives us. And I know how to use the light. I have two speed lights that I carry with me. I have constant light. Like I have all the things. I just don't want to use them. And I don't know what it is, but it's like every time I can just capture like that natural shot, I love it so much more. Unless I'm going for something like if I like, I don't know about you, but I like that whole like spotlight, like, like capture like club kind of capture where you get like that rounded bit of light and then it's nice and black around them because you got that, that nice bright flash. If I want that kind of look, then yes, I'm going to use it. But otherwise, if I can get away with like no lighting, we're just going to keep on keeping them.
Yes, I agree. I love natural light itself. Like I keep saying to my husband, like, can I tear like half of this wall out and make a huge window for natural light? Because I do like it better than artificial. But my thing is like I'm very everybody that sees like I'm very dark and moody kind of style. So same. I like being able to play with those shadows and moving the light different. That's where I like to have fun with lighting.
No, I get that. Like Scott St. John, he's had a lot of fun in the past year, dealing with different types of lighting. Yes. And I've seen like the light painting. Every time I see the light painting, I'm like, God, that just looks like a lot of work.
It sure does. Yeah.
It looks like a lot of work. And I was like, I do enough work in one day. I don't know that I want to do that.
No.
All right. Well, we have hit our hour mark. Did you have anything else that you want to share? Any tips, tricks, shout outs, that sort of thing?
Not that I can think of. No.
Okay. Scott, do you have any more questions? We'll give him a minute, see if he's got anything else.
Okay.
I mean, I think we pretty much covered the topic that we came here to, to talk about, but it's always nice being able to kind of get some, extra insights and stuff from, people in the industry and, things to look out for, things to be mindful of. Like, what would you say? Well, actually, you know what? This has been a topic. I actually have to do videos on this. What do you use to run your website?
I use Pixie Set.
You do use Pixie Set. Okay.
I use
That
Pixie
seems to be
Set.
pretty popular.
Yeah.
Have you used anything else?
No.
Okay.
Because I haven't had any issue. I like it because I can deliver my galleries. I do my contracts now through Pixie Set.
Okay.
My website, everything's just all in one place.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a video review of Pixie Set, Smug Mug, Squarespace, and I feel like Zenfolio, I think, was the other one that was really popular. So I'm going to do videos on those because I haven't used them since I've used Squarespace. So I should probably look at them myself as well, too, especially considering, right. I don't know if Squarespace is worth keeping, considering I can't run my store stuff on it.
Right. Right.
So, all right. Well, hugs, love, and other stuff. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
For having me.
Bye, Scott, and everybody the whole 2 people that are still here. We'll see you for dinner, Scott. Mwah.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.